I have been playing Pokemon Go for a while, and I do love its concept. You could be occupied for a long period of time while walking almost endlessly for hours. But this game has some problems, but I'm not going to talk about that today. Today, I am going to talk about the top 10 most annoying Pokemon to catch. If you are a fan of Pokemon Go, it is a good video to watch to keep an eye out for these annoying Pokemon. We could share some horror stories together. However, if you hate Pokemon Go with a passion, I still encourage you to watch, because you get to see me suffer through the hands of the most sadistic wild Pokemon. Number 10. Abra. You have to catch this on the first try, which involves the mastery of curveballs, the use of raspberries, and hitting the circles to get the best throw bonus. Its catch rate may be the highest on this list, being 40%, but its flee rate is a whopping 99%. Due to how probability works, this will run in the first turn, as opposed to other Pokemon below, making this by far the most annoying evolved Pokemon to catch. Notably, even Kadabra and Alakazam are less annoying to catch than this. Abra is not very common either, and if you want a really good Alakazam, you gotta catch a bunch of these. Good luck getting the higher level ones without Ultra Balls and mastery of Pokemon catching. Number 9. Didoh. This is a very unique wild Pokemon. It can only be encountered in disguise as another Pokemon. Usually Pidgeys, Rattatas, Zubats, or Magikarps, some of the most common Pokemon in the whole game. But there is one clue that you really encountered a Didoh: its catch rate. It is a very low catch rate, on par with some of the other Pokemon on this list. Now, stuff like Pidgey and Rattata are close by, so catching the Didoh could take less time. Magikarp is slightly annoying due to being a bit further than Rattata and Pidgey, but Zubat is particularly obnoxious to catch. It is constantly moving around, flying in midair, and it is much further than all the other common Pokemon. You really can't telegraph Didoh's appearance, so in-game trackers don't work on Didoh. You can't actively seek it out, it has to come to you, making this rather annoying to catch. It is also the last non-legendary Pokemon you'll most likely get. But thankfully, only one move pool. But getting 100% stats on this is very hard if you want to make the best use of it. Number 8. This is a tie between Raichu and Clefable. There is a reason why the Pikachu fan bonus exists. Pikachu is much rarer to encounter than the starters, and Raichu has an astonishingly low catch rate on par with Gyarados. Gyarados is harder to catch than most fully evolved Pokemon, but Raichu is worse due to being much smaller than Gyarados, being placed a bit further to hit, and you are very unlikely to have many electric types to increase the electric bonus. If you thought Pikachu was hard to encounter and catch, I had the unfortunate time trying to catch a Raichu. It is much harder than many fully evolved Pokemon to catch, but it's got some competition: Clefable. Clefairy, its pre-evolution, is about as common as Pikachu, i.e. it's pretty damn rare. Clefable actually has the same catch rate as Raichu, and it's a little on the far side as well. You probably won't have the full bonus of trying to catch this thing due to the lack of fairy types. Expect these Pokemon to break out often, even from Ultra Balls and Raspberries. Their catch rates are among the lowest in the entire game, and without the bonuses, they can be the most obnoxious to obtain for a while. Fortunately, they hatch from the 2K eggs, where you could use for grinding levels, though Spearow and Zubat are garbage duds. Still better odds than the horrible 5K egg rates. Number 7. Muck. Now, of all the Pokemon in the game, why a random Pokemon like Muck? Its catch rate is on the average spectrum of really low, being much higher than Raichu and Clefable, and you'll likely have poison types for a bonus, so why Muck out of all these evolved forms in the game? Grimer, the pre-evolved form of Muck, actually has the second lowest rate of hatching in the entire game, at least at the time of this video. It's a 0.5% from the awful 5K eggs, which has the largest variety of Pokemon, which often hatches Pokemon you already have several times in a row. Meaning that getting a Muck from candies is going to be painfully difficult and time-consuming. See, Grimer is actually quite rare in the wild, especially compared to Coughing. While having the lowest catch rate, Coughing is also fairly common in certain areas, mostly with Pokestops. Not so for Grimer, so naturally, Muck is even rarer too. When you do miraculously encounter a Muck, it is at the farthest possible distance. Not to mention, it is also the broadest Pokemon in the game, creating the illusion that it is closer than it appears due to its deceptive size. Don't be surprised if your Pokemon actually phases through its large body on the edges, just because of how wide it is. You'll be wasting a lot of balls trying to catch it, and because it moves around so much, jumping and attacking, it can screw up your curveball and throw bonuses, meaning that it can escape the next turn. This is very common among the harder Pokemon to catch, as it is by far more annoying than just low catch rates if you can actually time the throws. But as far as catching the fully evolved Pokemon goes, Muck is among the very worst. Let's hope you caught enough Oddishes and Weedles and have tons of Great Balls and Ultra Balls. Number 6. Porygon. This is astonishingly hard to encounter, since it comes from the 5K eggs, and it is the third rarest Pokemon to hatch. Nests are very uncommon, and are even rarer than some of the rare Pokemon on this list. I have never encountered this in my native area, and I got miraculously lucky during a travel. This may actually be the rarest Pokemon in the whole game. As far as the catch rate goes on this list, it is actually the second highest, and it's not that far away to catch either. So once you encounter this one, use Raspberries and Ultra Balls. Because its catch rate is low enough to worry about the flee rate, which is actually pretty high. So if Porygon runs away, you may never find it again. Keep in mind, this Pokemon is as weak as it is. If Gen 2 comes, you'll need to catch a bunch of these things to get a Porygon 2. And I don't even want to imagine just how hard and how rare Porygon 2 will be in the wild, especially with more Pokemon introduced. So good luck catching this. Number 5. All of the regional Pokemon. Okay, let's get this out of the way. This is a large tie, because in order to get all of these specific Pokemon, you'll have to spend money on a plane or a boat ticket several times. Trading hasn't come in yet, and even so, these are not as common or as easy to catch. Even worse, all of these are actually very hard to hatch. In particular, if you don't live in a specific continent, you will never hatch these Pokemon. Native habitats, according to the trolls in the Antic. Despite being exclusive to continents, these are surprisingly rare even in those continents. Tauros is one of the last Pokemon I've ever caught because it never appeared to where I was, despite living in the USA. One of these actually appears in the 10K egg, while the rest appear in the awful 5K eggs, with much lower chances than most Pokemon hatching. Mr. Mime isn't easy to catch due to his fairy typing, so the bonus is messed up. Kangaskhan is far, and it actually has the lowest catch rate of the bunch. And it also has deceptive hitboxes as well. Farfetch may be the easiest of the bunch to catch, but it's stubborn to catch due to how bad its stats are. Tauros isn't as good as it was in the games, and his catch rate isn't so friendly, and it is obscenely rare in the US. If these Pokemon weren't continent exclusive, they wouldn't even be on this list. They might actually be rarer than some of the ones below, but they are actually much easier to catch. After all, you could be rich and travel easily and catch everything, or have some more underhanded methods. But the next one on this list are nasty on their own merits.